And now, without further ado, our first reader who loves the color pink, and she's Desiree O'Clair.
I was in my studio. I pulled off my pantyhose, got on my knees, and went to work. It wasn't a very pretty penis, but I pulled and stroked and pulled and stroked, and how could I resist? The more I stroked that fat, short dick, the more it came to life. It was just firm enough. And those balls, the way they swing, the way they bounce, twisting the soft, curly pubic hair in my fingers, I couldn't resist admiring this fine specimen of manhood. I've done a lot of dick in my day, but this one meant something. I gave it one last pinch, then I slammed it onto the floor, grabbed my staple gun, and bam, 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 I stuck it on the sign. Then I put on my pink hat, and I met my girlfriend, Marilyn, and I boarded the bus to Washington, D.C. with my sign. Scrotus says grab 'em by the pussy. Oh, hell no. I say carpe scrotum. Carpe scrotum! Carpe scrotum! Carpe scrotum! Carpe scrotum! Better yet, grab them by the midterms. We've got a lot of seats to flip if we're going to change the direction of this country. So say it with me. Grab them by the midterms! 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 Our caravan of buses left Kingston around midnight and drove all night. When we arrived in D.C., we unloaded at the last stop on the Green Line, but there were no subway passes left, thousands of people. Organizers told us that there was a 3 to 5 hour wait to get on a train. Like, how are we going to get there? So Marilyn and I, we took off walking. We didn't know where we were going, but we were determined to get there. Up the road a ways, we met with some people who were waiting for an Uber, and when the Uber arrived, we all squeezed in. Our Uber driver, he was a brown man, an accountant who works 2 jobs, an immigrant. And with a heavy Middle Eastern accent, he said, "Many roads are closed, and I didn't think I could get to you, but I kept trying because I believe what you're doing is right. What you're doing is American. Thank you for marching. Thank you." He drove us to an overpass, getting us as close as he could to the action, but we still were nowhere near the march. We jumped over a median and barreled down a steep hill. Then we cut around some big office buildings and we followed the sound of the chanting. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. And the louder we got, the more we felt good. We were doing something good. And we kept getting closer and closer. We turned the corner and we were there in this sea of pink. Women and allies singing songs and carrying signs. And there was this guy from the Westboro Baptist Church, and he's standing on a ladder with a bullhorn, and he was preaching and spewing hate all over the crowd. So I pushed my way through, and I led the crowd in a chant against him. But you see, he thought I was on his side because the back of this sign, which is what he could see, it says, "In Goddess we trust." Doesn't look as good now as it did then because this has been to several marches. Pray for our country. So that's what he could see. So I'm leading the crowd, and I'm leading the crowd, and I'm saying, not the church, not the state. Women must control our fate. Not the church, not the state. Women must control our fate. Not the church, not the state. Women must control our fate. And when our chant got loud enough to drown out his bullhorn, I turned around and I shook my dick right in his face. And it freaked him out a little. He jumped off his ladder. He packed up. He took off down the street. But a few blocks later, there he was, and I was in front of him again. And I trolled him, and he packed up a second time and a third time. And I guess he just didn't like my sign because he kept moving. Being at the Women's March on Washington, it really inspired me. It gave me hope. And the children who will hit the streets this weekend in the March for Our Lives, they give me even more hope because soon they're going to be old enough to vote and they're going to come out in force and they're going to make change because enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And this is what democracy looks like. And this is what the Story Slam looks like. So what do we want?